Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Batters Patch. Today we have, at this point, this guy is just a regular, but we have Ankit here, and then we have Sai as usual. Abhinav is
I guess
gone.
he can
Yeah,
be like a temporary host in place of Abhinav.
Abhinav
Avinav's
doesn't
place.
watch. Abhinav doesn't watch romantic movies. Hasn't reviewed a single romance movie with us.
Did he watch?
But
Did he watch Kushi? I thought he watched. I thought he did
I
watch
think he
Kushi.
did.
Yeah, I'm waiting
It's a
for a review
waste
for
to
that.
even review that movie, honestly. When it comes on Netflix, I'll review it with you.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw it.
what are the chances Abhinav listens to this?
That zero.
It was the first few minutes. So, but anyways, today we are going to be reviewing Miss Shetty, Mr. Polishetty. It is a Telugu movie, and it came out, I think, same day as Jawan. So we've been a little behind on reviewing this movie. I saw it a little later, but we're gonna talk about the movie. Do a little bit about it. So instead of a regular format, do we want to like instead of doing like pros, cons, just talk about like the movie overall, like bit by bit,
Down.
act by act. Yeah.
I'm down. Yeah, we could do that. So you want to start like first half, second half, that type of shit, or
Yeah, like first few, like I guess let's start with Anushka portions, right? So this is fully spoiler, but I
yeah,
guess we'll
yeah,
do a sentence for people who just want to hear the first 4 minutes and fuck off. We'll do like a sentence is them if we like the movie. So I'll just do a quick sentence. I like the movie. I think it's his weakest work yet, Naveen Polishetty's, but by no means is it a bad movie. I think it's entertaining. But it does drag a bit, but overall it's worth the watch. Definitely worth the watch.
yeah. No, I really like it. I think it's a really entertaining film. Like comedy is on point with Naveen as usual, like as expected from him. And yeah, it does. There are some points. I mean, most movies have this anyways. There are some points that drag, but
Yeah.
uh, overall, like I would 100% recommend watching it. Ankit, you want to give
Yeah, I
over?
mean, I think the movie had
Sure.
potential. Yeah, I know.
Oh
Movie
wow.
had potential. I thought it was an average movie. I
Yeah.
think Anushka, like, well, I guess yeah, we can get later on, but I think Anushka was like the worst part of the movie.
You know what I
Yeah.
think was the worst part? The Tello. Where do they find these guys, man? Like,
No, I know what the problem is. I know what they do. So they find these guys, okay?
yeah.
Finding them is fine. They look the part, they do their, acting, even if the acting is atrocious, they do it.
Yeah.
The problem is the dubbing. I don't think they can get the same people to dub in the dubbing studio. So they get like maybe Indian people that kind of have a boost American accent or whatever to do the dubbing. And that's where it's like thrown off. Because there's no
Oh,
way
you're
the
saying
same
you're saying they
white
don't dub
people,
themselves, right?
yeah, they
Yeah.
don't dub. There's no way the same white people come to the dubbing studio like months later and like dub.
Yeah.
That doesn't, no, I think that's where they fuck it up.
I would assume they would take like some tourist from India, like someone on the streets of like they see a Tello and they're like, yo, want a dub? And English is not the primary language for a lot of these tourists. It's probably like,
Russian, like
French
some
or Russian.
European like language, yeah.
Exactly. And it's not
Yeah.
like everyone in Europe is flawless English. Like, I don't think it's an Indian, but it's definitely someone who's not primary languages.
Yeah, yeah, it's not like an American person
Yeah, it's like a probably
or
Russian,
a
someone from
British. Like even like technically they're in the UK, but that accent
yeah,
sounded nothing like a British accent.
yeah, it sounded like
I,
fucking like Soviet Union. Yeah,
I'd
that
say
was
the
my
worst part
biggest.
was, go ahead.
No, so bit by bit, I think like first act, like I'll just talk about Anushka. Anushka's first act. Nazar overacts immediately. I'm used to it at this point. This guy overacts in everything he's in, but the Telolu were pretty bad. But I think like the first 20 minutes for me were the weakest part of the movie, just because I don't like this new trend where a character and introduce JC Champis that are like within minutes, right? I don't feel that connect to them. Like Jaya Sudha is a great actor, but over here, like I didn't feel anything when she passed away. It was just a vehicle for the story, right? And I think like UV Creations does this stupid thing where face CGI is put to the max in their movies, right? And you can clearly see she's having difficulty emoting. Um, like there's like you can like literally the graphics are limiting how much you can see her smile or be sad. And I think the first 20 minutes drag a bit, but they're essential to the story, and they're gonna do like for her to adopt or want to even adopt. Completely essential. I just think maybe the mom relationship should be like a bit more heartfelt rather than the fucking Balia references, right? Or stuff like that. Like maybe make it a little more intimate. That's what I think for the first bit.
Yeah, so first bit I share the same like things that you said, but few things is yeah, the supporting cast was terrible. I mean, I
Yeah,
think the first 20 minutes everyone was terrible.
yeah,
I don't know if I should attribute that to them because obviously we've seen them perform really well, like Jaisada and Nazir, we've seen them perform really well. Even Anushka, we've seen her perform really well. I think it could be part of the choppiness in the story and how the director kind of put those 20 minutes in front of us. I don't want to blame because some of the dialogues are also cringe that they were saying. Like whenever Nazir talks, or like it was just really cringe. And so I want to place the blame on that, the writing, more than the actors as for the first 20 minutes because they were trying, like I could see Jay trying to like make something out of what was there, but it just was not connecting because the writing was just not strong. I feel like honestly, like if the writing was strong for her character, I think we would have felt her depth more, even if she was on screen for like 20 minutes. I think we would have definitely felt it more, but the writing was not strong and they just could not, I don't know, like have that connection with the audience, like with her character specifically. And Anushka, yeah. So I'm like torn on her character in general. I can't say clear cut she did a terrible job in this movie. Like I thought she was the worst part. I can't say that because there were some scenes with her. I know we're only talking about the first part, but in the first part she did, yeah, she was not good. But towards the end, like climax portions and stuff, I thought she performed really well for what was given to her. I specifically like she had this monologue at the end when she was like talking to like her mom's like picture. I thought like she did really well in that scene, but we'll get to that like later. But that's why I think like on Anushka's character, I'm like split. I'm like, okay, she did fine and like really like some critical scenes, but she also did not do well, like especially in the beginning. And the beginning was all her. Like she technically had to carry that beginning, and like I don't think she carried it at all. But yeah, that's like my like gist on the first like 20 minutes before Naveen enters.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you guys. I think one of the things that I had to say in addition to that is the fact that like the motive was kind of weird because she was always like against marriage and everything, but we only got like one dialogue talking about how her mom got divorced. Like we didn't see much of the aftermath of that, so it just felt like she was being like against marriage for no reason. Like if we got like a couple scenes talking about how it affected her, then I think it would have been better. But I think a lot of the motive for the actual movie and like the whole pregnancy, like I just thought it was very weak, like as a weak motive. And afterwards, like she found out that yeah, you can do this type instead of like getting married. But I just think it came out of like there was not enough to like support it, in my opinion. But I do think that it's just kind of one of those things when you have a movie that has somebody who's more like serious and then you have somebody who's like a bit more comedic and he's like the person who people come for, he's like the showman. It's you're gonna have like a boring couple minutes until the showman comes in. So it's like I get that it's part of the process.
Yeah, no, the thing is with her character, I think the way that it was written was she had to be kind of a cold person. Like and I got it. Like I understood what they were going for with her character. Like she doesn't believe in love, marriage, all that. Because she, technically over what they said was like she grew up in like a divorced household. So it like makes sense. Like I understood it. And like for me, like I didn't like need more. Like I didn't need to see a flashback to her parents like fighting or something. Like I was like, okay, I understand like they broke up and whatever and affected her while growing up also to become like this kind of emotionless, like cold person um, that just wanted like a kid to have as a support system, right? Essentially, because she doesn't believe in like trusting other people and everything, right? So like I understood her character, but I also see how they could have done more to show that because there were some scenes where it felt like she was just like not really emoting a lot of the movie, like not really emoting. And I understood it. I understood what they were trying to go for, but I understand how like some people can see how it doesn't make sense to like why she's acting like that.
yeah. Like this movie's very reminiscent to Most Eligible Bachelor. Like like one stand-up comedian parent cheating. Murali Sharma's on both. Like they really need to get more supporting actors. Like the
They need
same set of
they need more
parents.
dads.
Yeah, more dads, yeah. But you know, once Naveen enters, I mean, cinema mottam, like the destiny just changes of the movie, right? Like I'm a huge fan. Ever since his AIB days, like he's one of the most talented actors we have, period. And he like completely took over the screen when he entered until from then on I was fully entertained until the interval and then even more than that. But just like the comedic range, the screen presence, the dialogues, and with Anushka, the chemistry felt a little weird, but like their scenes played very well. Fucking Shravs from Happy Days showed up, right? So it was like good to see like the dialogues, the office scenes, even small things day to day like like stuff like that was shown so comedically and conversations with his parents, and I thought it was just so tastefully done. And the interval block was really funny too. And I just liked, like how everyone played off of him and so many self-depreciating jokes too, right? So it doesn't have that ego that so many of these other heroes have. But I thought he stole the show and really made the first half like really made it his own. That's all I can say. Like he literally stole the show.
Yeah, if we're talking about pros and I mean I had my like, pros and cons right now, but Naveen was the biggest pro. Like
Yeah,
this movie does not exist without Naveen. There's like no, I mean, yeah, Anushka has a lot of star power, but the movie does not exist. Like it doesn't work without Naveen. It can't just rely on Anushka because the movie did rely on Anushka for the first like 20 minutes and it didn't work.
yeah,
Um, so as soon as he enters, uh, honestly, like yeah, he entertains and everyone. I mean everything, but I think like the biggest takeaway like that I saw with him is like his emotional side that he performed also like towards the climax or like later on in the movie, like the second half of the movie, especially. I thought he did really well in those scenes. Like it wasn't just all I'm the jokey guy, like I'm the, I'm just gonna say a joke and then leave and then like say a joke and like it's not like that scene after scene. So there was a lot of emotion in his character also, like with him being a stand-up comedian and then his dad obviously not supporting him. And then there's like a scene particularly at the end that like I really, really loved where he was like giving a stand-up show and then his dad just comes into the crowd and like asks for his like autograph and that was like pretty like heart touching and how Naveen performed in that scene was like really well done. Um and then also like after his dad like kind of like breaks it to him that why Anushka is acting the way she is. Like, she doesn't trust people. She's looking for love within herself rather than trusting people. Like, go tell her that that you can be trusted. Whatever he says to him, I think like that was a really, really, really well put together scene. Like that was where I was like some of the writing was actually pretty good. So I feel like in those like critical scenes, the writing was pretty good, but a lot of the writing was not that great, like especially in the first like 20, 30 minutes. And then I don't know how much Naveen like had to do with the writing, like improvising and all that, but everything with him was natural, like supernatural. Like it was like it never felt scripted. But the first like 20 minutes definitely felt scripted, like with all the supporting cast. So yeah, Naveen was definitely the standout.
yeah. I like his parents were really nice to watch too, and it's not like dramatic stereotypes where the
Yeah.
dad is actually like he doesn't hit him, he doesn't scold him that often, but like kind
Yeah,
of just like he still respects him as a son. It's not like stereotypical like the movie Dawn with Sivakarthikeyan. I don't know if you've seen it, but
I
that
saw
dad
it.
is straight up like I don't even understand why he does the things he does.
Yeah. And then
He
they
just
have that in the climax that like, oh, it's out all out of love. I'm like, all right,
Rotta movie, bro. I don't know how that movie made as much money, but this is how like a normal, like healthy, like relationship with a parent and kid is, and it's portrayed very well. And like their scenes are very pretty. I wish end of the movie we got to see, a bit more closure with Murali Sharma, but it was, we still got a lot of good scenes. And he's
yeah.
obviously awesome, like Valmiki or like he does roles like this every fucking day. This
Dude,
is bread
the
and
middle
butter.
class dad, like he owns that role. That
Yeah,
is forever Murali Sharma's role. If you
yeah,
want a middle class dad, you cast Murali Sharma.
yeah. If you want Kaiser, cast his ass too. Complete opposite end.
Has he had done Kaiser type shit after that? I don't think he's done that.
I don't know if he's done. He was in Uservelli for a little bit. It's a villain,
Oh
but
yeah,
yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Technically, he is the villain as well, Mickey.
I guess so. Yeah,
Yeah, you're gonna say something?
Me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I agree with both of you guys. I think one thing that I found was that it felt like two different movies. Like Naveen, like when it's Anushka's parts, there's little to no comedy at all, and then Naveen's is like a full-on comedy. And I felt like trying to juggle a comedy and like sort of a serious movie, like not serious, but like a little less toned down in terms of comedy. Like it was like a really weird like tonal shift every couple of scenes when you didn't have Naveen and then when you did have Anushka and when you didn't have like either way. So I thought the director kind of didn't know what he was trying to do. Like even at the end, they had Naveen, but it was emotional, but like it just was in a very strange way because it's like Anushka's more serious tone and then his one who's like he's more comedic, right? So I thought the movie was just not very much balanced. They had too much things going on.
Yeah, there is a tonal shift. I mean, but that's just because the characters are different. Like Anushka's character is more serious, like cold, emotionless, all that stuff. And Naveen is like more of a vibrant, like, jokey, like that kind of character. So, yeah, like for me, like I would say it gelled like fine because Naveen made it work. I don't think like very few people would have made that work with how that like character story was designed. So I think like with the effort he put in, like it works. But yeah, I can see how like the tonal shift is like very, very like different. Especially when you go from a scene that was like has only Naveen in it and then it goes right to like an only Anushka scene. There's a clear difference.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
can see that like screen presence isn't there. Like as soon as he leaves, it's like he takes up most of the screen, takes up most of like the performance. And I think like even the portions that have Anushka, like yeah, she's more serious, but I think if they put in a little bit more comedy and then they put a little bit more seriousness in Naveen's, I thought it could have blended in better, but I thought it was way too like Anushka was too serious and then like Naveen was too comedy and it was like one scene was too serious, too comedy. It was like a really weird like concoction.
Have you said one positive thing about the movie? You
I
say
like
something positive
Naveen.
and insult it 2 seconds later.
I like Naveen. I thought the
So
comedy
did you
was
not like it overall?
Yeah, wait, hold up. I'm
no,
so confused.
I thought it was a
You said
very okay
average, but you've been
movie.
bashing it.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys get the positive points and I agree with them, but I don't think my negatives or positives are like high enough for it to be a good or bad movie. I think it all cancels out. It's okay.
Um, yeah, so
Actually, one other thing like I wanted to say was like I thought the story point was like pretty new, at least to like Telugu audience. Um, I thought they delivered it pretty well in terms of like the whole kid thing, like getting not marrying but wanting a kid, like all like it's a new concept. So I thought that was also handled pretty well. It kind of reminds me of like Bale Bale Magarove or something, like taking one concept like oh the hero has like the Matimarpu like issue. Like that was pretty new for people at the time, I guess, in terms of movies. They never seen like a flawed hero. And in this one, it's like a going against social norms type of thing, like or not marrying but wanting a kid. Um, so I thought they handled it pretty well. Like it was obviously told in a comedic way through Naveen. So that was good.
Yeah, I agree too, because you can tell that like the other character who was gonna give like he was gonna donate, right? He was like more of the really new generation type thinker, but Naveen is like the average audience member, right? He heard it and he was like, what's going on a little bit. It took a little bit of time for him to understanding actually accept this. So I think it was done very well because you had both examples of somebody who's really like broad-minded, and then you had the average audience member and Naveen was our main character as a average audience member. So you can tell it was kind of like educating them.
Yeah, that was good.
yeah, story's good. One nitpick I had, this is just like a very silly nitpick, but at no point did she mention it'd be invite in I don't know how the fuck to say it, IVF. Yeah, so it's like you
Oh,
think you should mention it like almost immediately when she tells him, right? Kind of like it goes into the second half where he thinks he's gonna have, like physically like
yeah,
impregnate her without any other alternative, which I thought was like kind of assumed. They should have said it, but it helped generate the comedy scenes, which is why in the
yeah,
interval and the confusion, like it worked out. But I wish, like, just a nitpick, it would have made the movie less funny, obviously. But I just thought it was silly. But even in second half, that tempo is like still there for the first 30 minutes, 30 40, and I think the dragging happens with the relocation scenes. Just because it's like a little out there, like it's like I mean, Prati Romantics, like every rom-com has that same ending, right? The airport ending that we all know and love, where they like rush off, find their person after breaking up, like yeah, Maya Chase away, he goes to the US or whatever, right? So definitely similar. I just thought they should have cut it down a little bit, just because like it was just the seeing that like get extended 20-30 minutes was a little much. And it's one of those things again where I think like the climax is dragged, but the payoff is nice. Like Navi, like besides that nurse that did the run in English, like excluding that, I thought like the way the movie like ended with the final scene with Anushka and that final stand-up routine was nice. But for me, that biggest draw was that 20 minutes where the movie just stalled. Um, and there was like a lot of music, a lot of BGM, but I wish like we saw more of the characters talk. The scene with Murli Sharma and the scene where she talks to her mom, but it's a lot of dramatic shots, like looking into the distance sort of shots, right? Stuff like that. I don't know if you agree, but that was my biggest flaw in the second half. Probably the biggest flaw in the movie overall, the white actors and like 45 minutes of lag, I would say, but not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the lag for me at least, the lag did happen mostly in the second half. Even though the first 20 minutes I was like not like that big of a fan of, there was still story that they were telling there. Like it didn't stop anywhere. It was moving, the movie was moving. But in the second half, like especially like when like even Naveen goes to London, and is like searching for her, it just felt like that state was like staying for a while, like a little too long. Like he was searching for her, like, and it was just like, oh yeah, he's doing all these stand-up shows in London. It was just moving. It was just, going. It was like we're not getting anywhere. Like it just felt like we were just there for 20 minutes, not really getting anywhere. So they could have 100% cut some stuff out of there easily cut some stuff out there. And there's also a few illogical things that happen, like when Naveen is in London. Like I know, especially one. This is also, I guess you can say, kind of a nitpick, but it was just kind of dumb. But uh, his like manager or someone comes and like gives him like the what is it, the budgie, right? And then
Yeah,
Naveen's
it's like
like, oh yeah, and then he's like, oh, it's from right there across the street, and they're clearly in like a city environment, like in like a downtown type of a city environment. And the next shot is just Naveen in this like open field, like going to this like farm or something. I'm like, how is this farm right next to the city? Like, there's no way that he just walked across the street and the farm was right there. And then also like the whole lead up to the climax. I don't know if they didn't have any like shooting days left or what, but he was like running after the ambulance, and they go from the countryside right into the city, and you're just supposed to like believe that he just ran the whole way behind the ambulance. And they don't show any of those shots either of him in the ambulance, like like running or what. They don't show any of that. It just like immediately cuts and goes to the city, and he's running on the city streets to the hospital. So I was like, okay, that's a little illogical, but I guess they didn't have like time to like
yeah,
film all that stuff or whatever. But um yeah, I thought the climax was pretty good. Yeah, the nurse at the end was terrible.
it's just
Like
so
so
annoying.
bad. So they could have that also got prolonged too long because
Yeah,
like it was annoying in the beginning. I was like, oh my God, he did it in English again. And then it kept going and going, and she kept saying, like, no, you can't go, you can't go. And then I'm like, bro, Anushka, can you fucking come outside and just tell him to come in? Like, we all know that's what's gonna happen. So just come
yeah.
do it. And then it finally happens like after 5 minutes of the nurse yelling at him. So that could have been cut down easily. Um, yeah, but the rest of the climax like was really nice. Like they showed like a couple scenes of like Naveen and Anushka like in the hospital room. Like it was good. Like they felt like reunited, and they had like a moment together. So that was good. And then it ends really well. Like that was
Yeah.
like I feel like that's like the perfect ending for this movie, for this story. Like how they end it with the stand up. I thought that was like the perfect ending.
Yeah, no, I mean, usually like the white actors I have no issue with because they're never in the scene for too long, but this
Yeah.
lady was testing my patience. She's like, "No, sir, please, you must go." And I was
She
like,
said,
"No."
she's like, no, she was like, oh, you're irritating me now. Please, you have to
Yeah,
go.
like I'm like,
I was
dude,
like,
this actually
you were getting
ruins.
irritated.
Yeah, it ruins like the momentum, but yeah, that's like just a nitpick. But one other thing that I wish they did, I guess is my last con. ఎప్పుడైనా job మానేసేటప్పుడు like when he quits his job, becomes a stand-up, I wish they showed his growth more because that's such a big part of Naveen, and he just sort of overnight becomes like Sidhu and these shows in London. We don't really know how even,
Yeah.
right? But I wish we got to see a little bit more of his independent career. We got to see Anushka like cook and then at the end like do a day in her life, but with Sidhu, like I guess we do see it. And there's that one cringe dialogue. He's
They're
like, bro,
both
you're
like,
yeah.
They're both like kind of overshadowed with their careers. Like,
Yeah,
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 they show Anushka some big time chef from the beginning, but they don't show much of her like growth or anything.
yeah,
And same with him, I agree. Like they don't
yeah.
show anything.
But with Anushka at least, like they're already established, so it's like
Yeah,
you
they're
get
she's
that. But
established.
when he quit his job, I was hoping to like get some like making to see him make it big, maybe like 10, 15 minutes of just him getting up there. I thought would have been cool. Not necessarily a con, but something the director could have added.
Yeah.
But
Like for example, if they cut the lag in the second half that we were talking about and then replaced it with some scenes of him climbing that ladder for as a stand-up comedian, this
yeah,
because this is after they technically broke up, right? Because
yeah,
like after she makes him sign the document and leaves, they could have just focused on like come back and focused on him, like showing him just working and getting up there. Also, cut back to her scenes, like like her like developing as they do show her like getting like the baby bump and all like they show that time passing also. So they could keep that stuff, maybe cut down a little bit, and then also cut in with him like increasing his shows and like getting more popular and all that.
yeah.
I think that would
And
have
even
worked
the
better.
but I think like in general, they're just like that was a missed opportunity. But in terms of like good stuff, clock dialogue nachindi, like when the clock hits six, there's a difference between waking up and waiting for the clock to hit six, right? So you see that he's like disciplined, but there's no soul in his life, Naveen. And same with Anushka, right? Like even stuff like going on Instagram and like, just deleting or logging out after seeing it. It's all like very real. And I liked even Interval, how immature both of them are in their own right. Post interval scene on the rooftop. Like he calls her like vulgar or something like that. And then she's like, you're immature. Like both of them are in the wrong in their own ways. But it's good that like, you know, both of these are flawed characters and Shravs is the worst amongst them. She fucking hires a private detective like every other day at this point. But I think like they did a good job with new concept, good performances. And this is I don't know if there's a debut director, if he's made any movie before this. Mahesh
I think
Babu
his
P
debut director,
debut.
yeah.
Yeah, so great like first job. Like debut directors are popping off lately. But
Yeah. I don't
yeah,
know who he was an AD with because we know like all the Sukumar ADs became like crazy successes recently, but I don't know who this guy was an AD for.
well, I looked up Mahesh Babu and I got fucking obviously I got Mahesh Babu. Let's see. Um he was the cameraman for Mujali. So I
Wow.
guess yeah,
That's wild. He went
yeah,
from that to this.
yeah.
That's good. Good for him.
But no, Ankit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Overall, like yeah, he did a great job as a debut director. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, we were complaining a lot about the like I was like complaining about the writing and stuff, but you really can't expect like every single thing like dialogue to be written super well, like very well, especially with a debut director. So for what he did, like at least like 80%, 70, 80% of the dialogues were like natural. And I mean, a large part of that was Naveen's, credit. But yeah, he did a really good job.
yeah. My three favorite movies this year were all inexperienced or debut directors like Balagam, Samaja Ragamana, and Shetty Mr Polishetty. I thought were all crazy for people who barely directed. And
Yeah.
Virupaksha is not in my top
Virupaksha.
three or five, but I get that too.
I was gonna say, for me, I would put Virupaksha on there just because I think for me, at least for this year's been shit show, but it is one of the movies that like was pretty good, and entertaining. So that also was a debut director.
Tier
Uh,
two and below have just wiped this year with their like movies. Like they've killed it. And then
yeah.
we have like Ebola Shankar and movies like that from our main guys.
No,
But
I mean, there's nothing. I mean, I don't until the end of the year, there's nothing coming out from the top heroes, right? Like, Solara got pushed. I
nothing
don't
at
know.
all, actually.
Yeah.
That's it. We have Skanda coming, and that's gonna give a heart
Oh
attack to
God.
distributors, audiences, producers.
Oh, watch it be a massive hit.
I hope not. But Ankit, you're gonna give like your thoughts. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, everything is said, but I think like there's just two things. Like one of them is I heard Kato was in the movie, his doppelganger Kamal Karnathan. Yeah, that was the worst scene in the entire movie
That is
just because
not.
of them. But yeah, the actual other thing is that for a movie that's like a stand-up comedian, like his stand-up was actually trash. Like
Bah,
like it
Chad.
like everything else, the comedy in the movie was good, but like for the actual stand-up itself, it was so cringe. I was like, it's crazy. Like we're supposed to laugh at this joke, and we're supposed to believe the people in the audience also laugh. I was like, they could have hired
Oh,
some better writers for that.
The thing is for stand-up, the stand-up scenes, yeah, they weren't as funny, I would say, as the actual movie jokes, like what happens in the movie. But I didn't find them cringe. Like I thought like Naveen like performed them pretty well. And there was a couple times that I chuckled at some of the stand-up scenes also, like when he was like saying the jokes about relationships or whatever it was. Um, because for reference, in Most Eligible Bachelor, Pooja Hegde's stand-up scenes, oh my God.
unbearable.
Literal freaking rod up the ass.
Yeah.
Her stand-up scenes. They were written terribly to begin with, and then her delivery was even worse. So like compared to like the previous stand-up that TFI has done, this is like amazing. But yeah, in general, like it wasn't like the best part of the movie, but I'm glad that okay, for me, I'm glad it wasn't cringe. At least it had that going for it.
I think it was like 50-50. The first set, like half the jokes were good. The very first set when we see him at the bar, the first, you know, first one, 50% of the jokes are good. 50 are like, and I don't think they were cringe, but the one with his when his dad walks in, Marley Sharma walks in, that one was hilarious. Like I thought that was
That
really
was
funny.
funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
think they
I
did
think
that on purpose, the vulgarity in that one, just because
yeah.
they wanted his dad to come see what he's doing.
And the ending was really good too. Like the ending, like 1 minute like comedy skit he does, the show. Like
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
think only the beginning one was a little difficult. It's also hard to write stand up organically. Like by the
yeah.
way, I don't know if you've seen stand up Ankit in like India and stuff, but people laugh at way shittier jokes than that. Like the most viral guys are trash.
And I mean, I also was watching this like some interview with Naveen, and he said that they actually shot that in a stand-up environment. Like the audience was real, and they didn't know like it was like being filmed for the movie and everything. Like he was like, yeah, we shot that as a real stand-up show at a real comedy like whatever place, like a club or something. Like all those
Yeah.
scenes that they did, which is cool. I mean, that keeps the organicness of it. But yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I've sort of said my thoughts. Ninja Pen and like Naveen's strong suit. I actually didn't talk about Anushka much. That's just because I think she was okay overall. She wasn't terrible. This is better than her Shabdam performance, right? But I think at this point in her career, she's sort of just sleepwalking through these roles, and I would say like there's not really much like part like writing like with the writing she's given, you can't exactly make this standout performance, especially when the male lead is given arguably much better dialogues and much more like it just overpowers you, right? Like when you're going up against someone like that, no matter how good you are, you're gonna get overshadowed. So thought she was okay. Naveen was good, great comedy, and I think definitely one of the best movies this year. You guys should check it out. But if you guys have closing thoughts or you want to say your stuff, you guys can go too.
yeah. I mean, I pretty much covered everything. But overall, I would say, um, it's a great film. I think like one of the best that you offer. I like it better than Kushi, like without a doubt. Like if these are they're pretty comparable because rom-coms they came out weeks apart. Same, heroes were like up and comers, like made it themselves type heroes. But yeah, I think Naveen is like honestly like if might be fighting words for some people, but I think he's infinitely more talented than Vijay is.
Easy.
Especially in like entertainment and screen presence. Like I really, really think Naveen carries himself a lot better. But yeah, it is a really good movie. We can like score it too. Should I just
Yeah.
score it right now?
But I don't
I think
think I don't think anyone's gonna disagree with you on Naveen being better. Like if there's one guy in this, we'll see what he'll say. But on
I mean,
average, I think
of us, sure, yeah, but technically, like Vijay does have a bigger following,
he
whatever, all
does.
that.
But talent
But
wise, I think like Naveen wins hands down in any
yeah,
genre.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah. So my score is a 7.5. Like I liked it a lot. 7.5. I would say.
Yeah, I was gonna give it an 8. The only things I really would subtract it for was like I said, the unnatural writing, which
Yeah.
is present throughout it. And I also didn't mention this as much, but it's not like a huge takeaway because I don't really care about like the songs aspect, but I didn't think the songs were that great. Like I honestly, if the songs were good, like if Kushi's album swapped with this album, this
Mhm.
movie would have been an insane hit. Like I think Naveen would have seen like 100 core plus like in this film if it swapped because the songs like make a big part of it and Kushi's success a huge part of that was because of the songs. But yeah, I think the songs were not that great in this movie, but and then like I said, like it also like does dip a little bit, you know, here and there. Like the flow is not as great throughout the whole thing. So I would still give it an 8 out of 10 though, which is a great score. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
100%.
probably my
Definitely right.
favorite rom-com like in a while, but and
Yeah.
like you said, Lady Luck's good. I like that song, but rest are forgettable. But I think props to Naveen for scoring a hit almost. I think it makes like 45 crores worldwide amidst Vijay Deverakonda and Shah Rukh Khan. Like
Yeah.
that's brutal. I know amidst like carrying the promotions by himself. I think if this movie came out, if it clashed with Skanda, on the 28th, I think this movie probably would have made same amount as Jati Ratna, like 60, 70 at least. You
They
know,
they chose the worst release date. I don't know who thought it was a
they
good
probably
idea.
had their backs pushed with like OTT deals too, I think.
And I guess like at the time they announced it, Salar was supposed to come out on the 28th.
Yeah,
So there was no shot that they would have released it against Salar. So they probably confirmed everything in for the 7th and they couldn't like turn back because Salar's push happened recently, right? It was
yeah.
after the release of this movie that Salar like got announced as pushed.
And scoring a hit with one of the worst production houses in India is no joke. UV Creations is one of the worst production houses I've ever seen. Like there's not a single good movie out of that banner after Mirchi. And this finally
Yeah.
broke the curse. Like marketed terribly, terrible CGI, and Prabhas just gives he's just a very nice guy, but he gives too many of his friends like chances with UV. And it
Yeah.
clearly reflects in the work. Yeah. Ankit, you can give your rating or final thoughts.
I mean, you already know. You already know what's gonna happen. So
That's gonna be like
5.5 for me.
I
So
knew it. I literally knew it.
5.5. Damn. Okay, to
At
each
least
their own, I
at
guess.
least for entertainment value, you can give it like a 7. Like just
I
for pure
think
entertainment.
I gotta go with 5.5. I think the entertainment value and how it does not go over how mid it is. Like the point five is because of like the scenes I laughed and everything, but otherwise it's a very mediocre movie.
Wow.
What was your highest rating this year?
This year,
Because we didn't. I don't think we
That's
reviewed
are
Mulligan.
that's all right, I think. Didn't
that
you give
was
it a
like
7 or something or
no, I
7.5?
think I gave it a 6.5 something.
Oh,
That's your highest one for this year. It's still
I think
number
that
one.
might
I
be
don't think so, but like there's not been many good movies.
But what's like your top one movie this year
Hmm,
so far?
let's see.
If you say that,
I mean, I might have to give it to Dustro, yeah, just because I like the scale and I like the idea. Execution wasn't the greatest, but yeah.
Dustero
what is
over
there in the
Balagan
idea? The
Huh?
idea the idea is the same shit that we've seen before. What
No,
does
no,
that
no. But
mean?
like the soul of the
and
director
Kata
is
is
in the movie,
actually a
you
huge
feel?
Nani fan, so the fact that he's even saying
Yeah.
this is, but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's neither
Okay,
here
Nani
nor
will
there.
bounce back with his Myrtle Tucker movie.
Yeah,
I mean, the movie was a hit, so
Dustero
what
this year,
bouncing
damn,
back?
I didn't even realize the movie was this year.
I think it's gonna come out in December. That's like
Yeah,
their expected date.
Signed of and High Nana are the only two interesting looking movies
Yeah,
I think, and
they're
that's
coming
it.
out
What a
this year.
wrap to this shitty year. But
Yeah. I don't
What
even
you
yeah,
know
guys?
what's October, November. I don't even know what's coming out, but December is signed of and Hainana. Both of those are coming.
yeah.
Does
So yeah,
Jailer count?
Oh, did you review Jailer
uh,
with him?
yeah, I mean it does count, but it's not Telugu fully, right? But
Yeah.
I
So
put
yeah, it
that
is
in.
like pan India, I guess.
yeah, yeah. But
Okay.
yep.
Yeah,
So
that'll do it
we
for us, guys. Thanks for joining in for another episode. Hope you like it and hope you check out Miss Shetty, Mr. Polishetty.
yeah, definitely be sure to check it out, and yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Maybe not for a movie review because there's nothing worth watching, but we'll get some cool concepts out for you guys.
Unless you want us to do a roast review of Skanda, then we'll
Yeah,
sacrifice ourselves
yeah.
and
There's
go
nothing
watch
going
it.
on that weekend. Fuck it, let's just do it.
All
All right, see you guys.
right, see you.